Cheesesteaks, episode 65. We got myself, Dakota. We got Tim, the scum, of course. And then welcoming back our guest from last year, Mr. Alex Daddy Goldberg.
That's not an L. That's a corner.
I like that. Hey, big shout out, because I don't think you were a dad last year when we did this. Correct. And now you're Big Papa.
Thanks, boys. I appreciate it.
Hey, congratulations to you. We always appreciate when, you know what, any of us are reproducing. We're a fan of that. You know, I'm a big fan of that.
I've been practicing for years.
There we go.
That's what we like to hear. Getting his hands dirty down in the trenches. Alrighty. So for today's episode, we'll be breaking down our top 10 cornerbacks heading into the 2021 season. And Alex was on our cornerback episode last year, so this will be great for looking back and seeing who's added, who dropped off, who rose up the list, and so on and so forth. So not much going on in the outside of football world besides obviously the Olympics are going on. The men's USA basketball team is abysmal, but all the other Olympic sports for the USA are doing fine. So softball is 4-0. So
feel that. Hey, I don't normally wake up at 8 a.m. on a Sunday, but I did wake up to watch that French game, and I say the talent's there, but they just clearly have never played with each other. It's just very obvious.
I think what Evan Fournier said was like right on the nail, where he's like, they're the most talented team here, but they're the most talented individual players here, but they're not the most talented team because they can't.
Oh, without a doubt. And watching that game, and the people that say like they just aren't interested or anything, like I disagree. That's not
like
true. I saw Damian Lillard fully extend, diving for loose balls. I saw Bam Adebayo run into a wall, getting out of bounds. They're just they're not playing well together. And Drew Holiday played a lot of minutes today, and he came in yesterday to Japan. He's coming off a hangover from the championship and jet lag. Come on now.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
I hope it's not too late, but I do think eventually they will get situated, because people have to keep in mind, like, they just finished the NBA playoffs. Like most of these players were in the playoffs like a couple weeks ago. Like they've had no rest and no time to really get together with their teammates on Team USA and like actually gel.
Shit, the final five, when you're Big Five, it's Devin Booker and Drew Holiday out there as your guards, and they weren't on the team last week or the week before that.
Yeah, I mean they're still too talented to not at least medal. I don't know if they'll win gold in it. Like I don't know if they'll get it together enough time to win gold, but I think they'll still medal at least.
If they don't win gold, everyone knows that's just a huge.
Especially after Tatum was like, "We're playing for Kobe." I was like, "All right, you're playing for Kobe. You've lost
all your chips
4 out of 5 games. Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah. No, I think. Yeah. I think Evan Fournier hit it on the head. Like they're the best talented team there by far. And even though they don't have all the NBA All-Stars, it's just a matter of they're going to put it together in time to win a gold medal or not, because they are the most talented team, and I still stick by that.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah. The golf field is just falling apart.
Wrong transition.
Bryson's out. Yeah.
I mean, we're losing top players left and right, and I was so excited to see like how this whole like golf thing was going to work, because this is new. I mean, this is new. This is totally like I saw and like Tony Hawk was tweeting skateboarding is an Olympic sport now. So like
it is. It is.
Like you're seeing all these new sports like come in, and it's kind of like changing how people watch the Olympics and like who's paying attention to it.
Have you guys seen any of the 3-on-3? Because the 3-on-3 is like pickup basketball, but that's now an Olympic sport now too, and that's another one of the new ones.
I saw a little of the women's. I heard they did well, but
3-on-3 is weird because it's literally like I just go to the rec center and I'm watching.
That's what I was confused. I saw on Twitter and someone was like, USA women's basketball team wins like 21-17. I was like, what kind of fucking score is that? And it was like 3-on-3. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
There you go.
It is interesting to watch too. It's interesting. It's like you just go to the rec center and watch it. Like it's not necessarily entertainment, but it's skill. You're watching it for it. You're clearly noticing they're missing 2 good people, but
Yeah, the skateboarding one was interesting. Like I was at brunch watching it they had it on the TV, and they want like a couple of the other countries, like their competitor athletes, I guess you would call them, like fell, like weren't. The one guy's wearing like AirPods. I was like, is this like legitly like a professional? Like, what are we doing here? Is this just
no one knows? No one knows. It's the first year. You either wear AirPods or not. We're making the rules as we go.
What are the rules?
We don't know. We're figuring them out as we go.
The rules are that there are no rules.
Yeah, just don't get COVID and skate on a skateboard, and you're in.
But speaking of rules, we have a new rule. in our rankings that we have honorable mentions. So
that's true.
Without further ado, let's start this thing off. And Alex, let's lead the way here. Give us 1 to 3 of your
who's the
honorable
guys
mentions.
That missed it?
Yeah, just missed the cut.
Just missed the cut. Besides Steve Nelson.
I had Lattimore, Marshawn Lattimore.
Wow. Okay.
He really
he's
didn't perform well last year, and I kept going. This is why I didn't look at the list. I knew in the back of my head I had him on there, but I wasn't gonna look and see where I had him to try and figure out where I would slot him based on you didn't play well. You were not a top corner. You got kind of torched all year long in a defense kind of that was built that you could have coasted and not been torched, but you still got exposed all year. And you're supposed to be a top guy that's supposed to anchor that defense, and he just didn't do it.
Yeah.
So he didn't make the list for me. We can go into Nelson for the Eagles. I love the signing. I think it's great for us. As far as him being a top 10 guy, I think that's a stretch.
Yeah.
I think he fits in with the system next to Slay. He's going to have a ton of playmakers if they figure out the linebacking core, but
you only hope.
He's nice. I like him, and I don't know who else did I have. I'm just looking back through my notes here. I really like Adoree Jackson for the Giants. He plays at the position physically and demands people to pay attention to him on the field. I always seem to be when I'm looking at their highlights, because there's another guy that we're not going to say his name yet, but he's pretty high on my list. Yeah. But you still see Jackson making plays. He's going to be one of these guys that's going to make plays. He's going to be a part of this defense for a long time. Coming from Tennessee, he fits the prototype for what they're looking for.
Honestly, and we're all Eagles lovers here. I actually think the Giants had an incredible offseason. I think Adoree Jackson's part of that incredible offseason. I think him and Bradbury are going to be a nice tandem. I thought Kenny Golladay was a great pickup. I really liked what they did in the offseason. I don't want to ever admit anything good for the Giants, but I'd be foolish to remiss. They're doing a very well job.
The division, the NFC East has gotten much better since last year.
They have.
I hope that they're actually competitive in a good way this year.
Defensively, for sure.
Hold on. I wanted to get to my honorable mentions because I know like I said, 2 of my top 5 from last year aren't, one of them, I'm about to say one of them, and I know you're both going to kill me on them.
I can't wait to hear it.
Because this didn't age well, but
his name.
So my first honorable mention, and the guy is just so hit or miss, and I said this last year, but he was big time boom last year. Marcus Peters was my honorable mention this year.
What?
Dude, he just doesn't. He didn't put up the numbers like he did. I had him top 5 last year. And I know you all yelled at me like I was an idiot for having the top 5, and it did not age well. Because you know what? Without the big plays, he had 2 touchdowns last season. He didn't have any this year. He had 4 interceptions, a little bit, that's a little drop off from his 5 this season before, but it wasn't the same year. It wasn't you weren't getting the boom from a boom and bust player. I won't say he was a bust. I won't go that far. That's why he's in my own mentions. But he is what we know he is. But last year was a boom year. This year wasn't the boom year that we expected.
Yeah.
And then my other honorable mention was a guy I think we were already shooting the shit about before we came onto it. Because you know what? I had him at number 9 on our rankings last year. And when he came on this team, a team we bleed for, I expected him to lock down number 1 wide receivers. And I watched every 16 games he was a part of. And you know what? Elite number 1 wide receiver stopper, that's not what we got. And he's older in his years. And I love the pairing with Steve Nelson, but Darius Slay definitely dropped off in my mind. Maybe, you know what? Maybe it was me thinking too highly of him. But when I brought him in, we gave up the draft picks, got him the big money. Mm-hmm. I expected him to be an elite wide receivers guy, and it didn't happen. He was getting torched by the good wide receivers. He played well against the, okay wide receivers and Amari Cooper. But any elite wide receiver he went against, he was getting torched. And, I expected him to be a stopper on that. And I'm not going to kill the guy. He was my 9 last year. I bumped him down on my mention, and I thought that's fair because I thought he played really well outside of the elite wide receivers. But when we brought him in, I thought we were getting an elite wide receiver stopper, and it wasn't Slay this year.
Yeah, I mean, for my honorable mentions, I also had Darius Slay. Because the first person I put my number 1 in right away because I knew who it was.
Of course, yeah.
And then I put Slay at 10 because I was like, well, he's either going to be at 10 or he's going to be an honorable mention. And then I looked through, his stats, other people's stats, and I was like, unfortunately, he's not not live up to the contract. Did not live up to the trade. I think he will definitely play better this year based on. I think the defense is getting healthy a little. They'll be a little stronger, especially like I'm very excited for the secondary. I think Anthony Harris, a healthy Rodney McLeod, Steve Nelson now, and then if Maddox plays well in the slot, and you also have that McPherson rookie who's I've heard is showing some good flashes in camp. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm tempered expectations, but it'll be an improvement from last year for sure. So
McPherson is the Texas Tech kid.
Yeah.
The thing with Slay, go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say what was Slay is like you said he kept getting burnt. It's like obviously his job. If he's a top 10 corner, he should be at least handling these receivers a little better.
Yeah.
So he definitely did not come up to par on that, but he did have a stretch where he went against like 5 straight like top 5 wide receivers. So I mean, obviously the receiver's job is to get yards and touchdowns. So
which is fine, but you know what? I found him getting burned more often than I saw him stopping. And
maybe he had zero help, but yes.
But you know what? He also came from a defense with Detroit where he had no one around him, and he was awesome.
He's
so I
kind of
and that's why he's an honorable mention. Because my outlook on him, isn't as high. I don't think as highly as I do now as when we brought him in. So that's kind of why I bumped him down. But all right, Alex, crack the top 10 for us. Whoa! I'm sorry.
Whoa! I only give one honorable mention. Let's relax.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Drink your wine.
Real quick. My other two, like Tim mentioned, I had Marcus Peters as an honorable mention. He's very like super hit or miss. He's either gonna make a big play for you or he's gonna give up a big touchdown. So and then him, and then I really liked the play of Carlton Davis in the second half of the season from the Bucs.
I like Carlton Davis, yeah.
I wanted to put him on my top 10, but I thought, he's not quite there yet. But I like he's aggressive. He's a strong tackler and
very good player.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's gonna keep growing. But yeah,
I think he's a young guy too.
That's my honorable mention. So go ahead, Alex. What are we rocking with at number 10?
I mean, we're very in sync because you led up to Carlton Davis, and I'm going to lead off with Carlton Davis.
We're transition guys here. We love transition.
That's all we do.
I mean, this guy plays the position at a very high level and is demanded to go out there and cover the top guys, in the conference. Yeah, I mean, they're just loaded down there, and he has to go out and cover all of those guys. Speaking of, here's a little stat for you. Since 2019, he's had 197 targets. That's the second most in the league, but in those amount of targets, he has the second highest rate of forced incompletions, 17.3%. So they go after him because they know that they have to because he's facing off against Julio or whoever, and they're going to get fed. So he's going to get attacked. So some of the peripheral numbers around him aren't always so good, and they're always in shootouts down there anyway. But he is what they look for down in Tampa Bay as far as a stopper. He really is, and I love everything about his game, and I felt comfortable putting him in there at number 10. And I think he's a solid guy.
No arguments. I actually like that. I considered him. He was one of the honorable mention guys I was thinking about, but I didn't go with him. But he was definitely a guy that caught my eye. He's a solid guy. The whole secondary though is young and good. Winfield, Davis, him,
the whole team almost. The whole team.
It's so nice. It's just everyone's young except for Tom Brady, and it's just a great environment to be around in Tampa Bay right there.
Yeah. Tom's mentally young though. He's
mentally young. You're right about that.
That's true.
So Dakota, because I ran my yap and cut off your honorable mentions, I'll let you go first on the 10.
What a gentleman. My number 10, as per usual, it's not a Dakota list without some Virginia Tech representation. And I think recent move to a different team with a coach he's familiar with is going to do well for this guy. So I have Kyle Fuller at number 10.
Ooh,
I'm okay with it.
I think reuniting with Vic Fangio is good because I thought Fuller was on the up and coming when he was in Chicago with Fangio as the defensive coordinator. So now that he's reunited with him, I think it'll be a good matchup. And I mean, Fuller's the same with like Peters, where he'll not in the big play aspect, but he'll get burnt every now and then. But I think Fuller has a really good skill set of like being able to use his agility and like close on routes and like limit the yards after catch. So Yeah, I mean, I like him. I think he'll continue to. That Fuller bloodline is just they breed secondaries.
I'm wrong about that. Yeah,
his brothers, solid out in Washington too. So, but yeah, I like him at 10.
Listen, the Fuller parents, they were playing jackpot for morning pancakes every day, and they were just going up and getting the ball. I'll say this because most people compliment me, and they're like, "Yo, you know everything about football." And I'll give you this: I forgot.
Who says that?
Who are you
a lot of
talking
people.
to?
Honestly, I've lost count, but I forgot that Vic Fangio was actually the defense coordinator for the Bears. I forgot to connect that because you know what? I like Fuller and Surtain together. That's a nice combo.
Oh yeah.
I don't have Fuller in my top 10, but I do respect and understand why you picked him there, so I have no gripe with that. Number 10, I went with a guy, and again, I had him at number 10 last year on my list, and Alex already mentioned him. He's a guy who I think is actually better than what he did this year, so I am a little more optimistic on what I think I'm going to get from this guy, but he's already proven to be very good. So my number 10 is Marshawn Latimer.
Okay.
Marshawn Latimer, he's still the guy.
He was very, very hard to rank.
Yes, I agree with you there. So that's honestly why I kept him at the same exact spot I had him last year. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Yep. He's only, I believe, 26, if I'm correct.
That's right.
Yeah, but you know what? Him being like strangely young for how long he's been in the league.
Yeah, he's only got two interceptions at the past year. He had 11 pass deflections, which is nice, but it was the lowest of his entire 4-year career. So this you could argue is the worst year of his career. He's this, and I'll be the first to admit it. This is more of a name recognition award, and I'll give him that because I'm not gonna lie. I don't think he had the best year. I think the Saints underperformed in general this year. I don't think the defense was incredible. I thought he should have done better. But I thought it was a down year for him. But also, when it comes, we talked about this earlier, Alex, Yankees versus Red Sox, Michigan versus Ohio State, Mike Evans versus Marshawn Latimer. You talk about the biggest sports rivalries. And 2 games of Mike Evans, he put up 66 yards off of 10 targets. And I'll stick on that. You can put me on that cross, and I will preach that till I die.
I'm crying.
And you know what? But you know what? You know when it's Latimer versus Evans, you get attitude and you get excitement. Yeah. And it's 2 of the best. Dakota will tell you, I'm a big Evans guy. Evans guy. I always have been. And I have respect for Latimer for what he does against him. But I think keeping Latimer at 10 is the right move. This is the worst year of his career. He still went to the Pro Bowl, but I think he set too high of a standard for himself going forward. But, you can't forget, the Saints are in the transition period. It's more offense because they lost Drew Brees, but it's a team thing. So his outlook isn't as high as he was last year. So I had to keep him where he was, and I felt okay with that.
Fair enough. Yeah,
I can live with it.
I don't disagree with anything you said there. He's definitely regressed. Like, I think it was PFF pointed out that he's like significantly gone down every year since his like.
And that's I think he's that rookie. Did you won the defensive rookie?
After he won defensive year, he only went down.
But he's been solid. He doesn't miss games. He's the least amount of games he's played is 13. That was his rookie year where he got the awards and had his best season. So he doesn't miss games. He's durable. So I'm not going to kill the guy. He's still top 10. I was a little disappointed and thought he would take a step forward. So that's where I'm at with him. But Alex, what do you got at number 9 for me?
Number 9, I am not going to lie, I kind of jumped back and forth a couple times with guys, and it was between the 2 Patriots, and the guy that I went with was Jason Jackson.
Okay.
Which means that I'm going to tell you, Stefan Gilmore didn't make my list.
Really?
Oh, you're out of your mind.
You're out of your mind.
You're out of your mind. I'll agree with you on everything. He was number 1 last year. He dropped in my list. Don't get me wrong.
He dropped in my list.
But you're out of your mind.
I went through the numbers and I looked at it. And I looked at it. And I looked at it. And I looked at it.
Look at more football instead of numbers.
And I said, I did this last year. And I said, I went off of, because I have left Richard Sherman off my list. And Dakota and I actually were on agreement with that. And I felt this year there was someone there that shouldn't be there. And I kept looking at the list, and he was the name. And I said, he's lost a step. And next year, I think you're going to see he's not going to be the same guy. And we're going to be having the same talk that we had with Sherman because he's not on the list either. I think you have a similar scenario. I looked at the numbers. And let's jump off Gilmore and let's just move over to Jackson.
Go ahead. I want to hear Jason because I know I'm big on Jackson too. So I want to hear this. I think you're out of your mind with Gilmore, but go ahead.
J.C. Jackson had 9 interceptions, and he was second in the league in that category. And was just like I kept looking at it, and I was like, how many did Gilmore have last year? Did anyone know?
Stop.
Did anyone check that? 1 interception. You had 1 takeaway.
They're just not throwing the ball to his side. That's all.
That's just not, that just doesn't do it for me. So I went off of my gut, which was that I think J.C. Jackson is a more playmaking, whether Gilmore does his job or not. I thought J.C. Jackson was the better player. And I also like the solo tackles as well. I think he's a physical player as well. Go there too.
Okay. Listen, I have no issue with J.C. Jackson. He's on my list. Don't worry. Oh. I think you're out of your mind on Gilmore. He did. Gilmore dropped on my list. I'll agree with you. He fell off a little bit.
Yeah.
But don't give me this nonsense. Don't give me this nonsense. He's not a top 10 corner. Stop. He was number 1, unanimous on our list last year. I don't care. I don't care if he got torched on every single play, which he didn't. He's not falling out of the top 10 after being unanimous number 1. There's no way.
He didn't make my list.
This is an interesting rotation going on here because I have Gilmore on my list, but I
absolutely have Gilmore on my list.
I do not have J.C. Jackson on my list. I think he's a good young player, but I don't think he's top 10 yet.
I'll get to J.C. Jackson. I agree with a lot of what Alex said, and I'll get to more of it. I don't want to ruin the surprise, so I'll let Dakota go with his number 9.
Okay.
But yeah, Gilmore is a top 10.
This guy, he went from, I think I had him at like 7. Then I put him in honorable mentions, and then I brought him back in. He was hard to rank, and I would venture to guess he's probably a little higher on both your other lists, but I went with the Giants corner James Bradbury here.
Okay.
I think he's just hard to rank because I think he's of all the cornerbacks on our list besides maybe like the top 3, he's probably got the most consistency. You don't see him typically get like torched like every other game and then like play really well the other games. He's usually a solid guy you can rely on. I just think maybe it's because he plays for the Giants that I have a hard time like accepting that he's really good. But
fair enough.
I don't know. It's just
keep him out.
It's just I couldn't keep him from the list based on what I was hearing last year during the season and what I got to see when they played the Giants play the Eagles and when they were on national TV and stuff. And he's a solid guy, competitive. Like I said, he's just model of consistency, which is kind of rare, I would say, for cornerbacks nowadays, where there's so much speed on offense that it's like a lot of them try to jump balls and make those big plays, and then if they fail, they get torched. So
yeah,
that's how it goes.
One misstep.
Yeah. That's the summary of the position right there.
Yeah. I mean, that was a pretty poor explanation for why I have him at 9 because I honestly do not have a ton of stats for him.
I'm glad you said it instead of me.
Yeah. But Tim, who you got at 9?
All right, well, I'm bringing the Thunder. First off, I'm gonna remind everyone that Stefan Gilmore is a top 10 cornerback. I don't care what Alex said. I'll get to him later. He's not my number 9. Okay. No, he's not my number. I just wanted to clear that up before we go on. My number 9, and I actually don't think any of you guys have him on your list.
I probably not.
I like this guy a lot. He's because when I had my PFF subscription for about 3 hours today until I ever moved, he's a teammate of someone that all 3 of us are going to have very highly ranked. And you know what? All of his PFF grades were a little bit better than his teammate. And you know what? That's fine because he's not going against the number 1 guys, so you understand it. But you know what? He's 28, not very old. He had 4 interceptions this year. He had 14 pass deflections, which is very nice. Everyone knows how I grade everyone. It's last year, next year, and if I built my team around you. And he's got the youth that I want to build my team around. And next year, you know what? And playing across from a superstar, it helps. But I think he's going to be very good next year. And I went with a little sleeper. I went with Darius Williams from the Rams, my number 9 guy.
Wow. Okay.
I do. You know what? Because I was looking more into it. The more I looked into it, the more I loved him. Because, I was watching, and even in the playoffs, because obviously, the guy we're all going to have later, and we'll talk about him, his teammate, Ramsey, is all that,
You know about him?
I've heard of him.
You know about him? Who told you?
Hey, I've heard about it. Someone told me he's pretty good. Some guy.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, he's not bad.
But you know what? You got to have, I think we learned from Darius Slay that you got to have someone on the other side of you. Otherwise, what's the point of being dominant on one side when the other side is just a porous, just let him go kind of defense.
Really?
Darius Williams is going to be a key part to that defense. And I'll be the first to admit I'm high on the Rams this year. I think Stafford's going to be a key part of that offense. And you know what? You're looking at 2 top 5 defense players in the league, in Ramsey and Donald on the same team. And guys like Darius Johnson, that's a guy to build around. That's a guy to be scared about. That's a guy that's going to make some plays. Yeah. I like him. He's young. I think you saw just a glimpse of what he is. He's only got 3 years in the NFL, even though he's only 28. He split time with the Rams and Baltimore in 2018. And then he was with the Rams last 2 years. He played 12 games the first year with the Rams in 19, and he played 16 this year and started 10 of them. I think he's only going to get better. And this is more of a forward projection with him. I think he's going to be better. I think we're going to have his best year next year, and I like him a lot. He looks good. The eye test is really good. They're a national team. I watched a lot of their games. He's a good guy. I like him across from Ramsey. His life is easier because he's across from Ramsey, but he's a guy I would definitely want on my team.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him come up in a lot of lists and a lot of videos I was watching and doing research and stuff, and he's an intriguing name. I would not be shocked if we do this next year, like he's in our top 10. Like, well, that's because
most of the times when I make my top 10, it's the prediction. You know, it's what I say is going to be top 10 next year because I'm always a year ahead. You're in the cradle sleeping away on everyone.
Okay, just like Marcus Peters.
Well, relax. Alex has gotten his eyes glued on PFF all day. Tell me how nice those Darius Williams stats were on PFF. I know they're better than Jaylen Ramsey in almost every category. His PFF stats are pretty nice.
If you hold up JC Jackson and Gilmore's PFF stats, you'd be like, wait, that one's Stefan Gilmour, that one's JC Jackson. So just so we're clear.
I like to use stats, but I'm an eye test guy, and Jaylen Ramsey's the better.
Dakota, I agree with you too, because that's why I have both tandems in my top 10. I have both tandems, and you know what? The big name one is higher than both of their counterparts in every single one of them. And Alex is just foolish for not having Stefan Gilmore in his top 10. How the guy wins defensive player last year, and you don't have your top 10 this year is just disrespectful.
So we'll see what happens next year.
Almost half your list is from just 2 teams.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
I was just thinking about that. I was doing the math in my head.
But you know what? I don't regret it because that's your top 10 corners right there.
Okay.
Whatever.
Alex is over here. He's like, yeah, I had 3 of the guys from 2 teams, and one of them won Defense Player of the Year last year and was awesome. He was my number 1. He didn't even make the honorable mentions this year.
That's right. Correct.
Tough list over there. So, all right, Alex, continue spitting nonsense at me and give me your number 8.
Number 8? You mean 8?
Yeah.
Number 8.
Oh, we had to adjust the hat.
This is gonna be something ridiculous.
The king of interceptions, Justin Peters.
Justin Peters.
Oh, what's his first name? Marcus Peters. Sorry, guys. I had a total brain.
Who is this hidden gem?
You said Justin Pierce. So I was like, who the hell?
And I tried to release it, and it was still, my brain was swollen. Sorry.
Marcus Peters. Hi. Before I get into this,
Peters there.
You guys killed me on Marcus Peters in my top 5
I stand by that.
And I took him out this year, and you have him in your top 10. I'm shocked.
He has more interceptions than anybody at the position. On a regular basis,
I agree with you.
It's 5 a year. You can put it 4 to 5 every year. You can put it in there for. Yeah. He's going to take the ball away. He's a big physical guy. He tackles. He even strips the ball. I mean, the Ravens defense. I mean, that to me, that's the best tandem in the league. Those 2 guys. The other guy, I got up a little bit higher, but in my opinion, that's the best tandem in the league. It's not really that close. The only downside on Peters, and you brought this up when you talked about him on your Just Missed, which I was going to say, but I didn't want to. He gets burned a lot.
Yep.
He jumps routes. He's got like that Asante Samuel syndrome type deal where you get those big eyes and he just goes.
Asante was only every so often.
And he gets burned. It's like, where is he even on the field? So you get an interception, but you might also give up 7 with him. So he slot into 8 for me. I felt comfortable. I think he's on, in my opinion, a top 3 defense probably in the league. He's a big reason why. They're the best no fly zone. Best no fly zone in the league.
I mean, I had him at number 4 last year, and I remember you both killed me on it, and I stuck to it. Like last year was awesome. He had like 3 touchdowns himself, and that was in between getting traded halfway through.
I know.
He's in that top 12 range, but
He was top 12 for me this year because he's boom or bust. I thought last year was a big boom. I thought this year, not a bust, but I thought this year was more mild. Like, he didn't have the numbers he had last year, but I'm surprised you had him in your top 10 after killing me having him at number 4 last year.
I just felt like this year, like coming into this year, I felt he's young still. I think he's 28. I think he's still old. Young.
Yeah, no, he's young.
So, I mean, he's coming into his prime right now. And I'm looking at, like you said, who do I want on my team right now going into battle with? And I feel like if he's in the right situation with the right team. Yep. And this year, I think we're going to look at a Pro Bowl year. He's going to have 5 interceptions. You know, is he going to give up some big plays? Maybe. But he's going to score. He's going to get some pick sixes for you.
Yeah.
I'm actually, listen, I have no complaints because I'm shocked that we're having this way. Because I remember arguing with you about, he's a one-hit wonder, and I brought up his all-pro season with the Chiefs. Yeah. He's on his 3rd team. He's a young guy. You forget he's young because he's on his 3rd team, but he is boom and bust. And listen, I have no complaints. I kicked him off my top 10 after having top 5 last year, but that was only because I like the guys a little bit better this year. And because I know what Marcus Peters is. I know he's either going to get torched or he's bringing a pick 6 home.
You mean Justin Peters?
Yeah, Justin Pierce. Justin Pierce, I forgot.
He didn't get the first or last name correct.
when you said Justin Pierce, I figured you were doing top 10 Canadian football.
Yeah, you never heard of him?
Yeah.
He's in the Pop Warner evaluations now.
Listen, I'm for it. You make my top 5 last year look better because, I mean, one of my top 5 is currently dealing with his legal issues, and that didn't age well. But, we'll move on from that. Dakota, give me your number
8. So my number 8, this is where, as you both previously talked about, this is where Marshawn Latimer falls for me.
No complaints.
It's just I can't ignore like just pure, like, there's players who like just play well in schemes and can handle their assignments and stuff. But like Marshawn Latimer was like born to be a cornerback. Like, he's just got all the right tools. He's got enough speed. He's got the physical traits. He's got the intellect. Yeah. I just don't understand what's wrong with him, and the fact that he just is getting progressively worse. And like, to say worse is kind of unfair because he's still a really good player.
Yeah,
but it's clear he's regressing.
Set the bar too high.
Now, granted, he is playing. See, but this is the thing. Like, he's playing really high competition, and you would think that would help him become better because of how good his opponent is. But I mean, he's facing was facing Julio, but also like there's Calvin Ridley, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and it's just like, and what's his fucking name? Ruined my fantasy team. Michael Thomas.
I mean, it's endless. He has
endless. That division's brutal.
Endless competition. Brutal. So you would think
both those guys.
Well, not Michael Thomas because he's on his team, but
I mean, if you want to throw in the Panthers guys, DJ Moore had a hell of a year. He's a solid wide receiver to deal with twice a year. Yeah, it's a tough year, tough team, tough division.
Yeah, but I don't know. Do I think he could bounce back and have another Pro Bowl caliber year? Sure. Do I think there's also a chance he just keeps regressing? Also sure. So we'll see what happens. But he's definitely like, I'm sure there's a high percentage of teams that would still want him as their starting cornerback. So
I would take him on the Eagles in a heartbeat. Put it that
without
way.
a doubt. Without even thinking.
That's another way I look at it. Like, do I want him on my team right now? And like, I want Marshawn Latimer on my team, but you just don't know. Like, for me, like when he missed my list, he was on my just missed. Like you said, the regression, the numbers were just like, it just kept, and like the trends, like we're trends guys. We look at the number. That's what we sit here and do. So it's like, if you're getting exposed year in and year out a little bit more and a little bit more, it's like you're probably not getting athletically any better. You're probably getting athletically worse as you play in the league. So, it comes down to maybe someone, because all they're doing offensively is trying to figure out how to beat you defensively, and defensively how to beat you offensively. So if they see something in his game that tells them how to beat him, if he doesn't identify it, he's just going to keep getting exposed.
I couldn't agree more. Because Alex sounds very like he's an educated guest. We brought him in twice now, so he understands that my system is the gold system to go by, and that's where he name dropped if I was starting my team with him. Don't get me wrong, if I was starting my team, now Marshawn Latimer is I want him on that team. Yeah. I think the 2 grades that hurt him the worst is last year was his worst year of his career, and next year I don't know how high I am because last year was pretty rough for him.
Yeah.
But sticking with that, my number 8, and this is a guy sticking to my metrics. if I was starting my team, man, I'm very interested in very high. But you know what? Even better, next year, I think he's going to have a hell of a year coming off of what he did just last year, because last year was awesome. Alex, you already mentioned him, but 9 interceptions. If you see 9 interceptions, he's got to be in your top 10. There's just there's absolutely no way he's not in your top 10.
Yeah.
But you look at J.C. Jackson and you're like, wait a minute. He had 9 interceptions last year. That's awesome. And then you look at the fact that, wait, he's only 25 years old. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. He's going to be playing with Bill Belichick for at least one more year on the other side of Stefan Gilmore. Now, we'll get to Gilmore. I didn't disrespect him like you did, Alex. But Gilmore's career doesn't involve Belichick in his future. J.C. Jackson is going to play with Belichick in his future. The guy that turned Malcolm Butler into a living legend and a big contract turned Stefan Gilmore into a defensive player of the year. The guy's a genius when it comes to defense. You're telling me I'm going to take J.C. Jackson, come off his 9 interceptions as a 25-year-old and continue playing in that system? His future is super bright. And if I wanted to start my team, I would, you know what? Sure, Gilmore's on the other side and no one wants to throw to him. But you know what? You got to catch 9 interceptions. That's a whole nother thing. When they don't want to throw to Gilmore and they only throw to you, you still got to catch 9 interceptions. And that's a number you can't ignore. I like J.C. Jackson. I think his future is very bright. I think he's going to get better than this past year, which was incredible. So he's my number 8, and
I be a top 5 guy. That's what I looked at with him. I think like next year, like when we do, if I'm invited back and we do this list, if we get there, like
stop saying Gilmore's not a top 10 corner in your head.
Like I don't know, like how he doesn't. He looks like he's in the perfect situation with, like you said, with Belichick. He has all the tools. And Gilmore's just going to keep teaching him how to be the best him. He's just sitting right next to a potential top 10 guy. I mean,
listen, that's probably why we heard the rumors about trading Gilmore. That's probably why the Patriots are okay with moving on from him. Is that they have J.C. Jackson waiting. So, but
this is
well, there were rumors they were going to try and trade J.C. Jackson too, though.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. So, Alex, who do you got?
3 almost Eagles on this list because he was rumored to be traded to the Eagles too.
Oh, that would have been great.
If only. So, lucky number 7. What you got for me, Alex?
All right. So, number 7. Top 3 coverage in coverage man in the league. So, when I say that, when they play cover 3, he is the number 1 guy in the league. That is Denzel Washington Ward.
Hey, I also have Denzel Ward at number 7.
He is such. Yeah. I just love the energy he brings. I watched a lot of his highlights. He's everywhere on the field. Like you can't not see number 21 flying around. Like he is.
I love him.
Yeah. He has great hands. He's physical. He jumps out of the gym. He can return. Like they've used him on punt returns and stuff too. Like he's very explosive. I'm a big fan. I think that defense is only getting better as they keep acquiring talent, as the Browns always do. And I love Ward. I was high on him last year. I'm not sure where I had him exactly. I know I had him on the list. And I think the future is just so bright for him. And the ceiling is the roof.
Can I say one thing? Because this is like a rare oddity. And I wish I said something earlier, but I had to check the list. My list moves. This has got to be the first time we've ever clean sweeped on a player that wasn't number 1. Because I also have Denzel Ward number 7. This is a clean. I listen. Everything Alex said, I can't disagree with. So I'm a hats off to Alex. I'll let Dakota take over because we all have the same guy. So I honestly, no issues. This is the one time where I agree with all of you. When you match my list, you're doing something right.
Let's go.
Yeah, I have no issues.
Everything Alex was saying is like on point. Like and for what it's worth, he's one of the best like shutdown corners in the league.
Oh yeah.
And he's in he's going to like his 3rd year now.
He's getting better.
And that Browns defense is getting better. Like that line is pretty good, and you have arguably one of the best defensive ends in the league. And then what's his name was hurt last year. Forget his name. The corner they drafted, and then they drafted another guy in the 2nd round. I think this past year.
They drafted a couple guys.
They got depth.
They just have so much talent.
Yeah,
like,
they got talent and depth
everywhere.
And Denzel Ward's leading the charge.
I think they had. I think they drafted Greedy Williams, who I think was the one that got hurt.
Yeah, so he was hurt last year.
But I think they also got Grant Delpit, who was the safety. Who was
but they got somebody. They got a big name corner, I think, in this past draft, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember, but
Listen, I can only help you out so much. You got to bring something to the table here, guy.
I didn't expect to talk about the draft too much, but
to cut to it, I have nothing else to say more. Like you guys hit it on the head. Comparison to Marshawn Latimer, who I think was awesome immediately and kind of fell off. Denzel Ward was a top 5 pick. We expected big things. He wasn't bad. He was very good. But I think he's continued to improve, and I think he's only going to get better.
I mean, Go ahead.
This guy, I think we haven't seen the best of him yet. He's a guy I comfortably say I think is going to get a lot better. He's a part of a very good defense, which you've already said. But, he was a Pro Bowler his rookie year. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I still feel like we haven't seen the best of him.
Yeah, I mean, this past season, he allowed, I think it was third or fourth best, a 64.2 passer rating. Like that's the third lowest allowed. So he's, like we said, shut down, lockdown corner. I like Alex said, the ceiling is the roof, as the great Michael Jordan once said.
If we have one guy in the top 10 that I think will be in the top 5 next year, it's him, then JC Jackson. I like JC Jackson a lot, but it's him, then JC Jackson.
I had Denzel Ward at 9 last year, so 2 steps. So then 2 steps next year will be number 5. So there we go. To be
fair, I didn't even have him in my top 10. So
you're not smart, but
it must be in it. So all right, well, that was a clean sweep. That was the first time we ever did that. That wasn't number 1. So Alex, give me right back to you.
Does that make up for Gilmore not making my list?
No,
or no?
Not even a little bit.
Real quick though, when Alex was talking, I had one of those bulbs went off, and I think I know who your number 1 is, and it's not who I have at number 1, but we'll get to that. Based on who you really liked last year, I think.
I'm not going to say anything. Give me your number 6, Alex.
So yeah, let's go.
So coming off the top man coverage guy for 3-man, we're going to go to the top zone guy, I think, in the league is Trenavius White.
Okay.
He plays for the Bills, and I mean, there's just something about the Bills defense and cornerbacks, and they're always really good. Always. Their number 1 corner, I feel like, is just for years has always been really good. They just funnel him in and out of there.
Okay, they had Gilmore for a while, and then he went to the
Patriots. I was trying to think about who it was. I knew you guys were going to say it. I didn't want to have to say his name, but yeah, they knew they had somebody before he got there that was really good as well. But yeah, he's got great hands. He didn't have a ton of picks this year, but he plays the position really physically. I think he had 2 sacks. He had a forced fumble. He fills up the stat sheet. He does it all for you. He goes against the top guys in the league. And I'm a big Trenavius White believer. And I think he slots right in the middle of the pack. He's a top 10 guy. And if he was on the Eagles, I think you'd see a lot of Trenavius White jerseys.
If he was on the Eagles, I'd have a Trenavius White jersey.
You'd see a lot of White.
I gotta say so White is on my rankings, but last year we did this. We all had the same top 3, but just in different orders. Mm-hmm. It was Ramsey, Gilmore, and White.
Yep.
So White drops out of your top 3 to number 6. And don't get me wrong, he was a guy that moved on my list, but ultimately I looked back and I was like, I had so much respect from last year, and he gave me no reason to drop him. I'm curious why he dropped so far on your list.
You both had him at 2 because I had Ramsey at 2. You guys had Ramsey.
Yeah, you know what? And I'll get to him later, but I had this debate in my head because he was low, but then I looked at my list and I was like, you know what? He hasn't given me a reason to drop him. He was awesome this year.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that I felt that he played poorly. I just felt that there was 5 guys that I thought that were not significant. That's not a fair word. There were 5 guys I thought that I would rather have on my team right now. And that's how I went about it. I was like, if I could have I think these guys are a little bit younger. They're a little bit more in their prime. And then I would feel more comfortable lining them up against every number 1 in the league. And that's kind of was my deciding factor. Not that he played any worse than he did last year, because I don't think he had a steep decline like Lattimore or some of these other guys. I just think the opportunities for him to shine with big plays, or he was just more of just a solid guy this year for me when I kind of looked at the numbers and how he played, and that's kind of where I put him.
Listen, I'll poke a lot of holes in that argument later because I have him. And you said start your team, man. He's 26 and he's awesome. He was top 3 for all of us last year, and I guarantee he did not fall that far out of my list. He gave me no reason to drop him that far on my list this year, but we'll get to that later. So Dakota, give me your number 6.
My number 6. This is a good spot, I think, for the 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 2019 AP Defensive Player of the Year, Mr. Stefan Gilmore.
You know what? All right, Hunter, I'm gonna let you do this. I'm gonna let you have your moment.
I think it's a good spot for him.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you have your moment, but only because we never agree, and we're now 2 for 2.
I was worried that you also had him at 6.
I did have a 6. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna say this one thing. This is my argument for Gilmore. Alex is out of his skull to not have him in his top 10.
But I may have made a mistake.
It's the baby. The baby is messing with his head.
Oh yeah, this is all those sleepless nights. These are what this is. Hey kids,
he should have been 10 over. He should have been 10 over Carlton Davis. He should have just
been down.
Yeah, that was my.
Hey kids,
I wanted to get fancy. I don't like dreadlocks.
He probably had it written down on a piece of paper, and the kid found a crayon and just scratched off Svon Gilmore's name.
Hey. When you think you're big and mature and you're ready to have a kid, just remember, when you have a kid, you forget Stefan Gilmore is a top 10 cornerback. That's the real sacrifice.
Look,
so you know what? I'll leave it at this. He's Defense Player of the Year. He's awesome. I'm worried about his future, but I'm going to let you take over, and I'm going to leave it at that. But me and you agree on this, and we never agree, so I'm going to be quiet on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he falls into the kind of the same vein when we were talking about our guards and how Brandon Brooks is like talent-wise top 3. And then, but because of injury concerns and age, we had to bump him back a little bit. Svon Gilmore is kind of the same way. You know, he only played like 10, 11 games last year. Was in and out with injuries. He is 30 now.
His future worries me.
But like, he's been a lot. Like, even when he was on the Bills, like he wasn't as known, but like he was a really like strong cornerback on the Bills. And then he comes to New England, and then the Belichick system and his defensive genius elevates him to a defensive player level cornerback. So I can't drop him from 1 to out of the list.
Well, because you're not insane like Alex.
I didn't drink myself before I got on the episode.
There you go.
It was,
You didn't have a kid in between rankings to throw up your free time and your football time.
See, also the problem is you see one interception, and it's like, even like with Jaylen Ramsey, he doesn't get a lot of interceptions because nobody throws to his side. So interceptions are hard to kind of evaluate as like a, final mark on a cornerback. But Stefan Gilmore is not a numbers guy for stats. He's what you get on the field. You can watch him. I wouldn't, if I was a quarterback or I was a coach, I would not want us to throw to his side. So
you hit it on right on the head there. I have no disagreements with what you said. I have him at the same spot. He would have to be Eric Rowe against Calvin Johnson to fall out of from number 1 spot to out of the top 10. And he didn't do that. He was hurt, sure, but he's still awesome. I'm worried about his future only because he doesn't have the greatest defensive coach ever. Like I said with JC Jackson, probably in his future. I do think the Patriots are going to move on from him, but you never know where that's be. But I agree with everything you said, Dakota. I have no arguments with that. Alex, you just need to recheck your list. But
rehab.
With that said, let's get into the good stuff. Let's get into that good stuff. Top 5. What you got? Number 5.
I don't want to have a giant in my top 5, but unfortunately, James Bradbury.
Really? Ooh,
yeah. I hate it. I really do. I hate to have to do it, but he was
I hate listening to it.
He was the 4th most valuable corner in the league. So how could he not be in the top 5? I was on Power Football Focus. I was on CBS rankings, and I think I was on ESPN or something else, Yahoo maybe. And he was like top 5, top 3. He's valuable. He does his job. He doesn't give up. He doesn't give up big chunks. He doesn't give up, touchdowns in the red zone. He's not the flashiest guy in the world, but there's a reason that Giants defense turned it on in the last few games or last, I guess, half of the season or whatever. Yeah. He was a really big part of it. And I had to show him some respect and a little bit of love. And he was the 4th most valuable guy on a lot of different ways that they cracked it. And he's top 5 for me.
I'll give you this, and you kill me on this. I didn't have Bradbury in my top 10. Don't have to hold your breath on my top 5. I didn't have him, because you know what?
I thought
you're right. You're right. Everything you said, Alex, is 100% correct. But I'm not going to ignore the 4 years before where he got to his point. And he had a career year this year I never saw that in Carolina. Never once saw that in Carolina.
That's kind of what I was like.
He's very durable. He never misses games. Yeah. So there's really no excuse. He did have 18 pass deflections this year, which is awesome because Stefan Gilmore led the league last year with 20 and was Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong, he was in consideration for my top 10. I don't live under a rock, but I'm not going to ignore the fact that I think this was an awesome year for a guy that is an average corner.
I think he's better than average, but
history shows he was.
He's a top 13, 14 corner for me. He was right on the edge of honorable mention, but I think top 5 is way too high. The fact that you left Stefan Gilmore out and you have James Bradbury in the top 5 is out of my mind. That is ridiculous.
And I agree with like a lot of. I think he's not going to be the same guy. I think next year, right? I'm coming back next year if Gilmore puts up really good numbers this year, I'll wear a Patriots jersey during it, and I'll eat my own words.
No one wants to see that.
No. Because I put it this way: you can wear a Patriots jersey, a Gilmore Patriots jersey, or whatever team he gets traded to.
That's fine. I think whatever team he gets traded to. If he plays well and he's and we all
I don't have any doubt. I don't have any doubt.
Then I'll eat my own words. But I was right about Richard Sherman. I'm telling you, the dreadlocks are out. You
dreadlocks are out.
You don't want them as a corner. They're going to pull them. They're going to yank your hair. They're going to trust me.
All right, fair enough. You know what? I didn't prepare myself with the dreadlock argument. No,
I did do my dreadlock research. So.
I'll tell you this though. James Bradbury's career got resurrected when he got traded to a new team. I won't say that was a good team because he was on some better Panther teams than he was on Giants teams.
Not great defensive Panther teams, I don't think. Were they?
What do you mean? They were awesome with Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, what's the guy's name? Josh Norman.
Yeah, they were good.
He was the number 2 with Josh Norman.
I mean, Ron Rivera rarely has a poor defense. So
I think top 5 is way too high for James Bradbury. James Bradbury is a good player. Don't get me wrong. He is a good player. I'll admit that maybe I slept on him outside of my honorable mention, but I'm confidently saying this. You are way too high on him as a top 5 corner. And absolutely not.
In my lifetime of watching football, I know how common it is for especially cornerbacks to have a breakout year and then suddenly disappear. Of all the players on my list, I think Bradbury is the most, the highest likely to just fall off again.
Couldn't agree more. That's why he's not on my list.
But I gave him credit.
Good player.
Yeah, I gave him credit for a
he's 28. He's going into his prime year.
No, you're right. He had a great year. He did have a great year
this year. I think
he had a great year.
He's not a sexy name, but he gets the job done.
I think he's going to be a Pro Bowler this year.
He was absolutely in consideration. Top 5, you're out of your mind. Absolutely out of your mind. But he was absolutely in my consideration. I won't say he's not a bad. He's a good player. He had a great year this year. Great year.
All right.
But go on, Dakota. Tell me your top 5.
Give us yours.
Tim, if you have the same 5 as me, then I'm worried the rest of our list is the same. So.
I doubt it. I don't think we do.
Okay. My number 5 is Trenavius White. Okay, good. So, I mean, I had him at 3 last year. Great young player. I just love his like whole character too. Like he's a super like chill, funny guy. Like loves messing around, but then like when it comes to game time, like he's, gets serious. He's no one wants to really fight him. As a receiver, you don't want to go against him because he's so quick, so nimble with his hands and stuff. And I don't quite understand all the disrespect on a lot of these rankings through like CBS and like PFF and all that, where he's like fallen off. It's not like he had a bad year. Like I just don't understand where, his trajectory is still going up. I don't know why people think he sucks all of a sudden, but
no.
He definitely. I would say this
5. I don't think he sucks.
No, yeah.
Oh no, I'm gonna have him in my list. He does not suck.
But I would say this past season wasn't as good as the year before, but still a really, really good year. I think he's gonna remain in that top elite tier of young cornerbacks, and then I'm sure Denzel Ward will make his way into that as well, and some of the other players in my list too haven't been said yet. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much to be said about Trenavius White. Like he's best defensive player on that Bills team, and that Bills they have a good secondary, they have a good defense. So, but he's leading the way there.
So my number 5, and actually I was waiting for this one. This was the exciting one. I didn't realize all the other excitement and fireworks we were going to have before this, and I know I'm going to look at the veins in Alex's head because I'm going to see them twitch on this one. And I'll be the first one to admit it. I fucked this one up last rankings, and he embarrassed me this year and made me look like I don't know anything about football, because to leave him off my top 10, I was an idiot. But number 5, and I admit he's awesome, but he is number 5, and I know you're both going to fight me on this because I know you both have him higher than I do. But number 5, and I kept a keynote to watch his games after Alex hyped him up more than anyone else I could have dreamed of.
If you have this dude 5,
I've never met dads that hyped up their kids this much. Alex hyping up this dude. I'll give you this, but you know what? 5, I'm comfortable with, because you know what? I wanted to put him higher. He was higher. He was top 3. I found I had better arguments for the other guys.
Please don't tell me you did this.
Don't say
my guy, and I'll get you. I can't say a bad thing about him. I really can't. He's durable. He's played 15 games this year, 16 last year, 13 his rookie year, and that was more of just, just not being experienced, not being experienced, not being a player. He's 24 years old. Oh man, I'd build my team around him every day. He is a number 1 lockdown corner.
I can't believe you did this. This might be worse than me.
But no. Because you know what? You know what I'm looking at? Because you know what? He's a good corner. He's a very good corner, but playmaking is an important thing. And every one of the people I have higher than him have better playmaking stats. He's got 4 interceptions in his entire career. I can pick out guys that didn't even make my top 10 that had 4 interceptions this year. Okay. Forced fumbles, he's had 2. Okay. There's guys that didn't make this top 10 that do double that in their year. So The guy's awesome. He's an incredible cover guy, incredible athlete, very quick, very agile, great defense. I like him this year. I like him a lot. You already know who it is. Your boy, Jair Alexander, pops in number 5.
You're literally insane.
Coming from the guy that didn't have Stefan Gilmore in his top 10, I'm not going to hear it. No,
he was arguably, if not one of the best cornerbacks last year, right?
You're insane.
I've heard.
Oh, but he's at number 5. But he was one of the best cornerbacks.
How could he be number 5?
So here's the thing. There's a lot of other good cornerbacks. And
I think Patrick Mahomes is a top 5 quarterback. Yeah, no.
That is completely different. That is completely different. Not even
definitely top 3. How is this guy not in your top 3?
He was there, and then I made a stronger argument for the other guys. He's the second team All-Pro. So the 3 guys that are ahead of him on the other second team All-Pro and the 2 first team All-Pros are a little ahead of her. And you know what? You know what's going to come back to, and I'll get to this when I mention the other 4 guys, playmaking stats. The guy is awesome. Jair Alexander is awesome. And I don't
throw his side of the ball.
The tag should be 2 major mistakes were made in the filming of this ranking.
I'm standing by this.
Not by you. Not by the host.
This is my Custard's last stand. I stand by this. First off, Trenavius White, who you both mentioned, who you both had in your top 3 last year, deserves not to be dropped. He was awesome last year. I don't know why either of you dropped him, and I'll go out of my way and spoil everything. I didn't drop him. He's awesome. He's a little bit higher on my list. Yeah. I've got the 2 first team All-Pros. I've got Trenavius White on the second team All-Pro, and I got a guy that's got better playmaking stats. It comes down to playmaking stats, and I know. We're gonna hear the argument. No one throws to Jair Alexander. I hear that. But you know what?
How's he going to make plays if the ball's not in his zone? Like, what do you want him to do?
They don't even look at
teleport to the other side of the field?
I can't wait till I get to number 4 and I educate you on how to make plays when the ball's not thrown to you. Jair Alexander is awesome, and don't take this as any disrespect to him. I'd love to have my team. He's a top 5 corner in the league, without a doubt. But when I talk about a difference maker, Jair Alexander is awesome. But you know what? Is he awesome because no one throws at him? I see Nani Asma be an All-Pro every single year with the Raiders, get a life-changing contract.
He's an All-Pro for 2 years with the Raiders.
That's more than almost anyone else on our top 10s had been on the Pro list. When no one throws at you, no one's challenging you. No one's making you make plays. And he doesn't make impact plays. And I'd say nothing against him. He's an awesome player. But the guys I have ahead of him, they make playmaking plays.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
He had 16 forced incompletions, which is second most in the league. How does he not make plays?
Yeah, that's a play. Because he doesn't turn the ball over?
Second in the league.
Turnover? You're saying he doesn't make turnovers? Because that's a different argument. He makes plays. He's a huge
turnovers. Turnovers are the most important, difference maker on a defense.
Sure. Home runs are the most important hit in baseball.
And you know what? My top 4 is littered with turnover makers. And you know what? Turnovers do matter in my list.
All right. I respect it.
And you know what? Like I said, what did I say? The first thing I said, this guy doesn't have playmaking stats.
That's fine.
And the other guys make playmaking changes. I'll be the first to admit to you, Jair Alexander is an athlete. He is a number 1 corner, and I will not take off my helm. He's the top 5 corner in this league right now. Yep. No disrespect to him. I didn't even have last year. I disrespected him. I didn't even put him in the top 10. And you put me to school, Alex. You put me to school, and I'll admit last year I disrespected the guy. But he's a top 5 corner in the league, and I'm okay with him at number 5. He's a top 5 corner.
Did he miss the list for you last year?
Yep, he did. Yeah,
all right,
he was top 10.
So by next year he'll be number 1, hopefully for you. At least you'll be making the jump.
The way that works out.
He was number 10 on my list last year, so I at least recognized him.
I slept on him last year. I'll be the first to admit to you, I slept on him last year. He had a great year this year. He was awesome. He's the top 5 corner in this league, but he is the top 5 corner in this league. I mean, nothing against the guy. He's awesome. But there's other guys that's a little bit better.
Okay.
All right, whatever.
Is he going to be in your top 3 next year, you think?
1 year will tell. 1 year will tell. When we have you on this list again, when you have your second child popped out, we'll talk about that. There you go. Now he's sweating. He was sweating a little bit when John Alexander was number 5. Now you drop out the second kid. Now the real sweat bullet's coming.
Stop it. Stop
All
it.
right, tell me on in this episode.
Because no, you know what? I slept on Steph Gilmore and Jason Jackson because of what you guys said, but this was the one that I knew was going to stir the pot, so I was ready to go.
I just can't believe you.
I knew it. Wow. All right, give me number 4. Give me number 4, Alex.
Speaking of playmaking in Tim's world, this guy is the biggest, in my opinion, on the whole list, the number 1 playmaker, the number 1 guy. It's Xavien Howard. It's all day, every day. Xavien Howard. I mean, the one-handed interceptions, the ability to like drop the hips, the ability to tackle. This is my favorite stat. Since entering the league in 2016, 18.7% of his targets and coverage have resulted in a pass breakup or interception. That is leading all cornerbacks who have been targeted at least 150 times over the past 5 years.
Yep.
I mean, the dude just oozes, as Tim would like to say, the most important thing in football: turnovers.
Cheers, baby. Hey, you know what? My producer, Dakota, can I talk to my producer for a second? Can you record what Alex said? Because I
record everything, Tim.
I have Howard in my rankings, and everything Alex said sounds like a top 3 cornerback to me, not a top 4.
Oh, here we go.
It sounds like a top 3 cornerback to me. Everything Alex said sounds like a top 3 cornerback. I just want to record that later.
My top 3 and 4, I thought were harder to differentiate between the top 2.
Oh, well, listen, I couldn't agree with you more. Howard is the top 3 guy, and everything you said sounds like top 3 guys. So Dakota, my producer, run that back when we get to where I'm going to get with Howard. But Dakota, go ahead, number 4.
So this is very similar to our ranking last year, where Tim is slowly going off the deep end as we get closer, and then Alex and I are coming together as a better list. I also had Xavien Howard number 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So everything he said is true. Phenomenal. Okay. And if you recall from our episode last year, you probably don't because you're an idiot. But
fair enough.
Xavien Howard didn't make my list because he was injured.
Can't argue with that.
Or he didn't play that whole year. And I was like, if he stays healthy, he will be in my list next year because he's a beast. He has the skill set to get it done. He's a playmaker. And that's exactly what he did this year. Right on the money. The only reason, and I actually did have him in my top 3 until about 20 minutes before we started, and I moved them back to 4.
Yep.
Because I looked at some of the yards he gave up. They're not great. You know, as much as his kind of style of playmaker where like he'll try to reach and try to jump on balls, but then those balls will get caught by the receiver and then they'll go down the field. So he gave up quite a lot more yards than my other 3 top cornerbacks. So that's what bumped him back. But phenomenal player. I love watching him play.
He's a human highlight, a real on. Yeah. I mean, he's basically like Tyreek Hill for cornerbacks. I mean, he's just like so explosive. He can do everything.
Listen, I've done, Dakota, what is it, 65 episodes that we've done together?
Unfortunately. This is 64.
64. So Dakota knows that to not gas me up because when you gas me up, I'm all good. And Dakota was very calm on his Xavien Howard description. I want to run back what Alex said when I talk about Xavien Howard because what Alex said sounds like a top 3 corner to me. But we'll leave that for when I get to him.
Well, when we talk about Jair Alexander, you'll understand how.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine. I'll listen to it. But I know when the gas pedal is left off a little bit when Dakota talks. So my number 4, and this one I'm actually surprised by both of you. We both unanimously, all 3 of us had him in our top 3. I don't understand what he did to drop out of your top 5. I think you both of you had him out.
You
of
had
your
him
top
5. I had him 6.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought dropping him, I had him 2 last year and I dropped him to 4 this year. I thought that was inexcusable, but I went with Trenavius White. The guy is super durable. This year he played 14 games. That was the least amount of games he's played in his entire career in a season. He was second team All-Pro. Mm-hmm. He led the league in interceptions last year. He had 3 interceptions this year. He had 11 pass deflected, and the team was awesome. The Buffalo Bills were awesome this year, and he's a number 1 corner. That's a problem. He's a young guy. I believe he's 25 years old, if I'm correct. He's 26 years old. I'm sorry. He's 26-year-old who wouldn't want to build your team around him. You guys both had him in your top 3. I was more curious about what made you think you wanted to drop him so low. Nothing that he did this year made me want to put him lower than 4. And 4 was the lowest I was going to go with him. And that was considering everything. But the guy's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He was an All-Pro last year. He was a Pro Bowler this year. He's a second-team All-Pro this year. And he's awesome. I mean, you want to go back to the same argument you had with Jaire Alexander? No one throws to Trenavious White. Why would you? They brought in Josh Norman, who made things, a little bit difficult because you couldn't just ignore Trenavious White. You had to go at the other guy, and Josh Norman's a hell of a player, and he can go and ball. He did nothing to make me want to take him out of the top 3 from last year. He was awesome this year. The Bills were awesome. He's second team All-Pro. I have no reason to move him down. I moved him down. You guys moved him down a little bit further than I did, but I have no reason to move him down past top 4.
I'll agree with you that he should have been top 5. That was a mistake by me, and
add it to the list. Him and Gilmore, add them to the list of mistakes you've made.
That was I think less egregious than
I would agree with you there too.
But I would say that your opinion on White is accurate. He's closer to 1 than he is to 10, and he's think awesome. I think you're right that we both dropped him maybe a little bit lower than he deserved to be.
I'll be the first one to admit I had 2 of my guys that fall out of my top 5 out of my rankings. And that was Marcus Peters and Richard Sherman, who both aged poorly. Mm-hmm. Trenavious White aged incredibly. Like, he was awesome this year. The Bills exceeded all expectations. Everything you thought the Bills were going to do, they were better than that. He was very good. If you had him top 3 last year, I don't understand how he would have dropped this year. And he did drop in my list, only 2 spots, but that was only because other guys were better. I think he's awesome. He's a number 1 cornerback on every team in the league.
Every player in our top 10 list here is a starting cornerback on every team. What do you
mean? No. This is a guy that if I was, starting the league all over and drafting players, this is a top 3 number 1 cornerback I'm drafting to my team.
Hold on. Your whole narrative is so all over the place. You were shitting on us because we dropped him out of our top 3. You also had him out of your top 3. I had him at 5 because the 4 players I had ahead of him had better seasons and are going to have continued success. Number 5 is not a slight. I'm not shitting on him. I think he's phenomenal. But I just think the 4 players ahead of him just have better seasons.
Yeah, but you know what? When you're the guy that had him rated higher than everyone else, you always boast. And I have one guy, and I know this is going to stir the pot.
Top 3.
My next guy's going to stir the pot, but he's a playmaker. And he's on incredible defense, so I think his future's looking bright. So I don't want to spoil what I'm going to tell everyone and educate them on. But Alex, go ahead. Top 3. Let's go.
More education, more scummy education from.
It's a masterclass, a free masterclass. I should get a medal for what I do for the community. I should be a saint.
Your masterclass will be
advertising like Education Connection, that old commercial we used to get all the time.
Education Connection.
Hey, give me a look at that. Hey. All right, break the chart. Let's go. Break the seal.
So closing in, we're on number 4 here.
3.
So
3, top 3.
Yeah. Number 4. Marlon Humphrey. I know this guy doesn't need any.
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. How are you on top 4 if I'm already on number 3?
Oh God, I'm sorry, my eyes.
You spent too much time in that office. Hey, Alex, you spent too much time in that office.
Sorry, guys.
That's the problem.
Sorry, listeners. So, top 3. Let's crack it open. You already know who he is.
Crack it like an egg.
Marlon Humphrey.
Cheers, baby. Crack it open, right?
I need another. There we go. Another hint water. There we go.
Hey, cheers, baby.
Cranberry juice. I also had I also had Marlon Humphreys at number
wait,
3.
Wait, hold on. Unanimous? Again? Outside of number 1?
Sweep.
Marlon Humphrey at number 3, everyone.
Wait, so Alex doesn't even know what number we're on, but we're still clean sweeping at number 3.
You want to know why I thought he was number 4? Because up until about 5 minutes ago, I had him at number 4.
What are we doing? What kind of a list is this?
This is
just moved a little. It just moved. I felt it. Then that's what I went with. I think
got a little. His spidey senses went off.
Can I put a public service announcement out there? PSA to any guest that wants to be a part of the show. We don't set the bar very high on guests. Yeah. They changed the list as we're doing this thing.
It's a floating list.
If you know anything about football and you got a post, you want to be a guest, come on in.
Make sure your list is written in pencil, not pen, because I'm using your erases. Oh,
that's a pen. Is that a putter?
Or
whatever works.
Hey, Alex, I'll say this. I'm gonna let you take over this because we're unanimous, and I'm not gonna say much on this, but I will say this: playmaking moves. Playmaking plays. Beast. This is why Marshawn Humphrey is the number 3 guy for me. But go on. Tell me why.
Marshawn. We're all over the place tonight.
What do you got? You guys
are really all over the place.
Marlon
Marshawn. I'm sorry, I missed that. Marlon Humphrey. But he makes playmaking plays, and you know what I meant by that. Maybe his 8 force
playmaking plays.
Let's just dive into the numbers here on Marlon Humphrey here, because he's such a fun guy to go at, and look. Because you can literally look at any category. Let's look at forced fumbles. 9. You're a cornerback. This guy has perfected the art of the swat and rip. I mean, he does it better than any dude on planet Earth right now.
Yep, I'm not disagreeing.
If any kids are watching right now and you want to learn how to play cornerback and how to take the ball away without having to catch it, watch Marlon Humphrey tape, and he'll teach you exactly how to do it. Another one. I mean, solo tackles. 76 solo tackles as a corner. He's 3rd in the league. He's physical. He's everything to that Ravens defense that they've been for years with Ed Reed and fill in the whoever Ray Lewis. He is. You look over there. He's got the visor, and he's they're nasty dudes, man. You don't want to have to go up against them, and I think that's how the league feels too. I think they feel the same way that everybody else does. You don't want to go into Baltimore and have to see Marshawn. Now you got me saying it. Marlon. They don't want to go Marlon.
I want to hear what
Marshawn.
Marshawn or
I want to hear what Dakota said. I don't have much to say because I agree with you. I can't believe we went unanimous on 2 different non-number 1 positions. So Dakota, tell me something more about Humphrey that I don't already know. But I already have my guy here.
I mean, it's an interesting dynamic how we go from the arguably the best playmaking cornerback in Xavien Howard to arguably the most versatile cornerback in Marlon Humphrey. I mean, he can play slot, he can play corner, he's played safety. I wouldn't be surprised if he played linebacker at some point. They throw him all over the place, and he gets the job done wherever he is. And like Alex was saying, he's all over the field, making tackles, getting after it, finding ways to punch the ball out. And I think it was Peanut Tillman who actually said he loves watching Humphrey's game because of how he plays, because it reminds him of his own ways of playing the game.
That's what he is.
So, there's a lot of players on the Ravens that are really talented, and he's one of them. So I really liked him last year. Last year I had him at 5. So he's getting a little bump up this year to 3. So, I like what he's doing.
I'll keep this short because, you guys said what I've already, want to say. I know Dakota's eardrums don't want to hear my voice anymore than it has to hear. So, I bumped him up. I had him 6. He is my number 3. I got a couple things to say. 8 forced fumbles as a corner. That's Peanut Tillman, but he's a much better coverage guy than Peanut Tillman. And he's also only 26 years old. He's in a great defense. 25 years old. 8 forced fumbles, incredible coverage guy. He's awesome. His future's so bright, and he's so smart. I'd make him a defense coordinator if he wasn't a cornerback. Ooh. So, yeah. I everything you guys said, I agree completely with it. He's awesome. He's one of the guys that bumped White out of my top 3 because he was awesome. He had 8 forced fumbles. That led the league. That's pass rusher numbers.
Yeah. I looked at that number, and I was like, how's that even, possible?
That's the thing.
He's a better coverage Peanut Tillman.
Yeah.
Every other game he's stripping somebody. That's
Nick Saban education, education, baby. Listen, if you're going to learn football from someone, it's Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, and then my masterclass I give weekly on these podcasts. That's the way you want to do it.
He had 3 sacks too. He also had 3 sacks.
He does everything. He's awesome.
He's everywhere.
Listen, you guys kill me for Alexander at 5, but it's guys like Humphrey who just makes playmaking plays. Those 8 forced fumbles, the sacks, these just everywhere. Like Alexander's an awesome coverage guy, but he's not versatile like that. Like he's incredible at lining up with one guy, but he's not making 8 forced fumbles or sacking anyone. But with that, we digress to the number 1 and 2. Alex, stir the pot. What's number 2?
Well, pot has been stirred, my friend. You already brought it up, my boy Alexander.
I knew it.
He's number 2. It's Jaylen Ramsey, people. Jaylen Ramsey.
I knew he was gonna do that.
Slotting in. And I'll tell you why. And I'm not gonna go into a long thing on it. I'm just
lie to me. Lie to me.
He had one bad week.
One bad week.
And from Ramsey. And then after that, he was literally unstoppable. He was literally the most feared, probably, defensive player in the league. You couldn't throw him. He to me is the close, and I said this last, the closest thing to Deion Sanders. I mean, the guy is everything to the position that little kids look up to and want to be.
I get that.
He's the dude. I looked at some of the numbers, and he doesn't have like bad like numbers anywhere. Everything is great. I just think that he's not the number 1 guy, and I had him at number 2.
Fair enough. I don't know if I agree with it, but fair enough.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with that.
I went to a few different numbers here, and one of them was wins above replacement, which is a fun little stat that they came out with now. Okay, and his wins above replacement were significant. Let's just say significantly behind the guy I had number 1, who Tim had at number 5.
Fair enough. We'll get to it. Listen. I know it's your boy.
According to this new stat, which is wins above replacement. Well, maybe it's not new, but I've never really dived into it too much. But he had over a half a win more than Ramsey. Just saying, my guy.
Wow. I'll give you that. Hey, I'll give you that.
Half a win is a lot in the NFL, according to.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You are absolutely not. Nothing you said, I disagree with. Except everything you said, I'm going to go against when it's my turn. But yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said. I just like the other guy a little bit better.
We're really cutting hairs, and
we are cutting hairs. This top 5 is cutting hairs. That's why it was so tough. This was one of the toughest positions we've done yet, to be honest. This was tough.
I'd love to hear what Dakota thinks about it, because we were probably the closest in the top 5. Not that you weren't, but we had a bunch of guys that were right there. So I'd love to know, where.
Wait a minute. Just because a fool tells another fool that something is correct doesn't mean it's correct. Sometimes you need an expert to come in and weigh in on this. That's what I weigh in here.
To stick together.
Yeah. All right. Second fool, Dakota. Give me your second foolish opinion on number 2. What do you got?
So I think it's safe to say that 5 to 3 you could kind of mismatch here.
I agree.
My number 2 guy, I think he's an elite level guy, but he's not that close to my number 1 guy, to be honest. My number 1 guy is just, I didn't even have to do any research. I knew he was number 1.
I couldn't agree with you more.
But number 2 is where I had Alexander from the Packers.
Okay. Cute.
A lot of things about his game are just like it. Tim was kind of breaking down the lack of numbers, but that's the key, is that nobody's throwing the ball to that side of the field.
Yeah. To a point.
No, it's not to a point. He's very smart.
I'll give him that. He's not bad.
Reads the plays. He knows what's coming at him. I just think because I was saying last year, I had him at 10. I was like, I could really see him taking off this year. And besides, Ramsey, who Alex just mentioned, I think he was probably the best corner in the league this past season. So numbers don't do him justice. You have to watch his game. And as someone who grew up playing in the secondary positions like cornerback and safety, he is what you want to strive to be like, a strong cornerback who's able to, take away his side of the field, essentially. So you having him at 5 is moronic, but
hey, I stand by that. And
definitely top 3.
Listen, we were all enjoying Marlon Humphrey's greatness, and we were all in the same boat there. And everything you guys said, I can't believe you left him behind Jair Alexander. And I like Jair Alexander a lot. I do. He's a young guy who's getting better. Not. I haven't seen the best of Jair Alexander. He's 24. He's going to get better. But you know what? I haven't seen it already. What I'm seeing from these guys that, these guys that I have in the top 3, is just elite level of play. The playmaking ability is what you can't ignore. Yeah. So my number 2, and I know this is going to stir some pots because you guys have both said him already, and I'm actually shocked that you said him so early. He led the league in interceptions. He had 10 fucking interceptions.
Yeah.
He is an injury concern. I'll be the first one to admit it. But 2019,
okay.
Hey, 2019, he was an injury concern. 2018, he led the league in interceptions with 7 interceptions too. He's an interception machine. He's a young guy. Leave me alone. I'm in my moment.
Your dictionary is just between you saying he's a playmaker or whatever you were saying earlier, and then using awesome for every other word.
Playmaking plays.
Playmaking plays.
He's 20 years old, so hardly old. My guy's already negotiating his contract extension after signing a 5-year deal in 2019. That's how good he is. You put up 10 interceptions. You put up 20 pass deflections. Passes defended, 20 of them. That's what Steph Gilmore had last year when he won the Defensive Player of the Year. And he didn't have 10 interceptions to go along with that. This guy is young. I mean, he does have an injury history, and I'll admit that. But he's 20 years old. He's not going anywhere. And I think he's awesome. I thought his entire career, I thought he's awesome up until he gets hurt. He was awesome last year. He was the top 2 quarterback last year. And when you want to talk about make a play, cover a guy, and eliminate them, this is one of my first guys pops in my head. And that's Xavien Howard. I think he had a better year last year than any cornerback on any of our lists. I think next year he's going to be even better. He's got a good side partner with Byron Jones, so you can't just ignore him. And you can't just pick on the other guy like we talked about when I had Darius Williams and J.C. Jackson mentioned. But he's also 20 years old, and he ages pretty well. Besides the injuries, he's got a good game. His best is right now. I love him on this defense. I think they're on the rise. I think he's awesome. And the playmaking ability is something you can't teach. We talked about Marlon Humphrey's 8 forced fumbles. Let's talk about the 10 interceptions that Xavien Howard brought back. I know Jair Alexander was number 5, and don't get me wrong, I had no hate to him. But when you have 8 forced fumbles or 10 interceptions, I'm not putting Jair Alexander above either of those guys. Those are playmaking plays.
That is not flawed. The logic behind
playmaking plays. I know Dakota's a loss because playmaking plays is too big of a word for him to comprehend. But playmaking plays, it's 3 words mixed into one, so it's too many words for him to comprehend at the same time. And I talk fast, so playmaking plays is when you got a guy that can change everything. When you're losing, he changes the outcome of the game. When you have no momentum, he changes everything. Turnovers are what the NFL is built on right now. It's a passing league and it's turnover league. Jair Alexander doesn't give the turnovers. He is the number 1 lockdown cornerback, and I will ruin anyone that says he isn't. And I stick by the fact that he's number 5, and I don't mean any disrespect to him. But when you talk to a playmaker making plays, I talk about 10 interceptions, 8 forced fumbles, or a guy that just knows how to get the football. And Jair Alexander, he's the youngest out of my top 5, and he's awesome. Don't get me wrong, but he hasn't showed me yet. And I've seen it from every single guy in my top 5 outside of him.
All right. That's some heat. That's a hot take for you.
Hey, listen, I stand by it. And I'll be the first to admit to you, I was an idiot for not having Jair Alexander not out of the top 10 last year.
Well, yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I'm sizzling hot on all my takes on all these rankings. Yeah. The cornerback last year were my worst rankings by far. Richard Sherman at number 4 number 5 did not age well. That did not age well.
I can't believe you actually had him on the list.
I liked him a lot. I thought his zone game was going to progress. I thought he was going to be the Niners, but I'll admit this. Of all my rankings, the cornerbacks are my worst one from last year going into this year, but I stick to the fact that Alexander is number 5 after the playmakers in front of him. And Xavien Howard was a first-team All-Pro. Jair Alexander was second-team All-Pro, and that's for a reason.
Because they saw, he had 10 interceptions, throw him on the list.
Are you gonna act like 10 interceptions is not something to appreciate?
He's He's by far the best playmaking.
He had 20 passes defended. So did Steph Gilmore last year when he won Defensive Player of the Year. And he didn't have 10 interceptions to go along with that. Well, silence is the best defense.
I'll
listen to you next year.
I can't.
Hey, Jair Alexander allowed 35 receptions and had 43 solo tackles. Xavien Howard had 49 solo tackles, but allowed 47 receptions and a lot more yardage.
Who gives a shit? So when Cole Beasley runs a slant on his 2-yard out and gets a reception, what do we care about that?
We'll go into some of the numbers here on Jair Alexander.
Jair Alexander led up like 300 yards across 17 games.
Listen, 353 yards. I got it right in front of me. 353 yards all season.
Listen. We're taking this the wrong way. I have nothing against Jair Alexander. He's awesome. He's a number 1 cornerback in the league. He's top 5. But the guys I put ahead of him, I stand firm on being better than him. This is how Jair Alexander is an awesome coverage guy. He's an awesome coverage guy. It's that next step. Can you punch the ball out or can you pick the ball off? I haven't seen it. I've seen it with the other guys.
So game on the line, final play to get to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, and it's going to go to the number 1 cornerback. That's where they're throwing the ball. You want Jair Alexander, who's a lockdown corner, or do you want Xavien Howard, who's trying to go for the ball all the time?
You know what? Fine. In that situation, I'll go with your boy Jair. But let me paint you a prettier picture. Imagine being down by a score in the Super Bowl and the other team has the ball. I need the ball. The game, football right now, NFL right now is about having the ball. It's about turning the ball over and getting turnovers. Yeah. Playmaking plays. I know Dakota hasn't, fathomed that in his head, what that actually means. But playmakers making plays is forced fumbles and interceptions. I'm talking about a guy that has 8 forced fumbles and a guy that has 10 interceptions. Okay. When Jair Alexander sniffed those, when he not when he comes close, when he sniffs those numbers, Jair Alexander is the number 1 corner, and I'm not going to argue against that. But he's a guy I'm never going to throw the ball to, and I'm going to just pick on Kevin King. Why is Kevin King the most disgraced number 2 cornerback in the NFL? Because he's embarrassed because no one even tries Jair Alexander. But you know what? Jair Alexander isn't making plays out of being ignored. He's not jumping routes outside of his assignments. He's not getting forced fumbles when the ball is already caught and making plays on the ball.
You can't have what that doesn't make sense.
He
was targeted 69. Jair Alexander was targeted 69 times, which was tied for 40th in the league, whereas Xavien Howard was targeted 90 times, which was tied for 11th. Of course, he's going to have more interceptions. He's going to have more opportunities. Why would Alexander jump someone else's route on the other side of the field if he's covering a guy? That doesn't make sense. Hold
on. I'm sorry. So since you explained yourself, he had 69 targets, Jair Alexander did?
Yeah.
And he had 1 interception. And off of 90 targets, Xavien Howard, he had 10 interceptions. Do the math, Dakota. I know you're not a math whiz, but whip out a calculator and tell me which one's better.
Yes, you're right. Xavien Howard's is better because he's getting more
playmaking ability. It's playmaking ability. Jair Alexander's awesome. He's a number 1 cornerback, but I haven't seen playmaking ability from him. I've seen it from Humphrey and I've seen it from Howard.
He is the number 1
cornerback. Playmaking plays. I know Dakota still try to wrap his head around how many syllables that is, but playmaking plays is what I rated this ranking.
You're making it seem like I don't like Xavier Howard. I really, really like Xavier Howard, but he's not. Him and Alexander are almost opposite halves because Howard is that a more aggressive, will intercept the ball for you, whereas Alexander's going to shut the guy down so he doesn't even get targeted.
Listen, and I'm going to transition now.
Put him on the same team, and then they'll be 1 and 2.
2 completely different players playing the same position.
Yeah.
2 completely. You're comparing. It's like trying to compare. Like it just doesn't work. It doesn't work when you're comparing it like that. It's not fair.
I'm going to let Alex take number 1 on this one to transition, but I'm going to say this. Playmaking plays, and that is the theme of my entire rankings. And I get it. Yeah, Jair Alexander's awesome and no one throws at him. But you know what? I haven't seen him make playmaking plays. I haven't seen him force fumbles. I haven't seen him make interceptions. Could he do it? I think so, but he hasn't. I'm going with the guys that have done it and proven it, and the guys that have been tempted and tested. And that's the only reason I have him a little bit higher. No disrespect to Jair Alexander. He is a top 5 corner, number 1 cornerback in the league. And if I was starting my team right now, don't get it twisted. he is a top 5 corner I want right now, and he's awesome. No disrespect to him, but when it comes to playmaking plays, which is this whole episode is sponsored by, it's a couple guys ahead of him. But give me number 1, Alex, and I already know who this is.
Everybody knows who it is.
I already know who this is.
Everybody knows who it is. It's the.
I warmed you up for this.
It's the only guy in the entire league. Jair Alexander had a 1.4 wins above replacement, almost a half a win more than any other cornerback. I mean,
Fair enough.
He's literally worth half more than the second guy. According to Power Football Focus, according to their rankings. So
he's awesome.
Anybody can go on there and look at their rankings, but anybody who went last year and looked at our rankings saw how high I was on Jair Alexander. I think he is a special talent. What he brings, which Dakota also acknowledges, is not playmaking plays. What he brings is consistency to the position. What he brings is a shutdown mentality. It's almost like Revis Island out there with these guys. Yeah. He is the closest thing right now because you don't get the gaudy interception numbers that Howard has. You don't get all the deflections and all the flashy plays that Ramsey gets to make and stuff. He literally is out on an island. You don't hear from him. I mean, Dakota said 353 receiving yards last season. He played 600 coverage snaps. I mean, you do the math on that.
Tim's not good at math. We've established this.
Yeah. You recycle my line.
He's in my opinion, he's the closest thing to Darrelle Revis that I've seen to date, and I would pick him first. So and I understand that Ramsey is not going to say the easy pick, I'm not going to say the right pick, but the guy that everybody else wants on their team. But I personally would rather have Alexander. That's just off of a gut and eye test that I gave him. I know I'm of the three of us, I'm the biggest hater on Alexander, but I'll be the first to admit he's a legit top 5 shutdown corner. I have nothing against the guy. He's awesome. Awesome. I already stood on my, Custard's last stand about why I didn't have him that high. Yeah. And, I'm not going to reiterate it, but he is awesome. I'm just being out there. Alexander is awesome. And I'll tell you this, Alex. I'll give you all the credit in the world because I felt like a fool with an egg on my head when we did these rankings last year and you pulled out Alexander and I didn't have him in my top 10. And then I watched him all year and all I think was Alex liked this guy. He looked good. And I watched those games. I can tell you, I was never once disappointed from what I was seeing. I was like, you know what? This is everything Alex said and more every time watching him. And I know, I went on a tirade about why he's number 5. I stick to that. Because, it goes back to what you even said about Revis Island. It's the playmaking plays. Revis Island never had to make plays. He just had to be ignored for the entire game. Right.
And that's how awesome he was. But you know what? I'm giving weight to guys that make stats and make plays and make playmaking plays over the guy that probably could do it. Jair Alexander could do it, but no one even tempts him. And it's because of the fact that they do it that I am a little bit higher. And my number 1 guy is an elite guy that you don't throw to, but he still makes the plays. And I know Dakota's got the same guy, so I'm going to let Dakota go first and let him, educate the masses before, I get into my master class. But I respect Jair Alexander at number 1. I like him a lot. You opened my eyes to him. I'm not going to lie. I didn't even consider him my top 10 last year, and I was foolish in doing that. But, yeah, I'm sticking with him at number 5. But
can we get a little playmaking plays counter, like how many times he said it?
I keep repeating it.
Make that animation for the
every time I do. Can you loop in Marlon, Humphrey, or Xavien Howard's interceptions and forced fumbles every time I say it?
Please.
Yeah, and I'll
there's a lot of them. There's 18 of those forced fumbles and interceptions to get by.
I'll have a ticker for the 400 times you say that player's awesome.
Awesome and playmaking plays.
Plays awesome.
Listen, I can't afford everything. I can't afford a thesaurus.
Tim, speaking of awesome.
Go ahead. There you
go. My number 1 player. He is a different breed of NFL players.
Before you get into it, I'm just going to say this hurts me because I'm going to agree with every single word you say. And I don't want to, but I'm going to anyway. But I'm going to let you kill it. But I agree with every single word that comes out of your mouth. So go on.
Okay, good. So I'll make a good point out here that last year in our rankings, both of you had this guy at 3, which I thought was pretty disrespectful. whereas I had him at 2 because I thought he was superior to the guy I had at 3. But obviously we had a Stefan Gilmore at number 1, who was the reigning defensive player of the year.
Of course. Who else forgot how awesome was?
Yeah. We'll see.
He was too busy watching Jair Alexander highlights to realize how awesome Stefan Gilmore was.
But
here I am dropping awesome again.
Yeah, this is a player who I've been a huge fan of, and like I said before, like I mean Tim knows I tend to draw towards secondary player, like defensive backs, like big. Obviously, Brian Dawkins was my inspiration for following football, wanting to play football, and I love all the different safeties and corners. And Jaylen Ramsey, my number 1 cornerback, is from the Los Angeles Rams, who just switched his number to number 5, so that would be cool.
I didn't know you did that. That's
I didn't know that either. Oh, look at you, breaking news.
Look at that.
I got you. 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, arguably had his best year this past season. And it's rare to have a cornerback who can just and I was talking about Marlon Humphrey about being able to do it all, but Jaylen Ramsey does. You want him to play, zone, cover 3, cover 4, you got it. He'll take that whole quarter of the field away. You want him to play man, press, jam, you got it. You want him to tackle, cause fumbles, you need an interception, you got it. Jaylen Ramsey is the fucking dude. He's just so good. And
that scene from Space Jam when they put their hands on the ball and all the abilities go, he literally touched the football and got every ability a cornerback has ever had that ever played the position sucked right into his body, and he literally does he has every tool on the toolbox.
Hey, he got Sean Bradley's height off that ball too. He's a big guy. He's a big boy.
6'1".
Yeah, he's a big boy. He plays big too. He's a mean dude. If I was a wide receiver,
he loves to hit. He loves to tackle.
He's violent. Yeah, he is violent. I'll give you this
swag. He's got it all.
He got the swag. My God, he invented the cornerback swag. He reinvented the Deion Sanders cornerback swag. No cornerback has had the swag since the Deion Sanders like Jaylen Ramsey has. And I'll give you this. The most impressive, everything you said, Dakota, was surprisingly correct, and I have no arguments with it. There's a rare time. It's actually disgusting when we agree because there's something's gone wrong. Yeah. But the guy, he played 16 games each of the 3 seasons he was with Jacksonville. The only time he missed games was when he had his mystery back injury, right when he was traded from Jacksonville to LA in the middle of the season. You're talking about a guy, when you do the eye test, the year in 2019, he was traded to the Rams in between seasons, so you can't really kill the guy. He was learning a new system, blah, blah, blah. Then COVID hit, and then 2020 came on, and he was doing his thing, no training camp or any of that, and he was still really good. And now he's going to have his contract is settled and done. Now he's going to go in the offseason, have a whole training camp, whole sessions. And this guy, when you talk about an eye test guy, I mentioned the 8 forced fumbles to Humphrey and the 10 interceptions to Howard. Ramsey's a guy I don't need to bring up numbers. I watch him play and I'm like, damn, this guy's good at fucking football. He's awesome at football. I know I hate to name drop awesome again because Dakota already called me out on it, but until he buys me a thesaurus, I'm still name dropping awesome. Ramsey's a guy, he's better than his numbers, and I think this is going to be his best year coming up this year. And I'm high on the Rams. I'm very high on the Rams. And the reason he's my number 1 is because I think this is going to be his best year yet.
Does he have playmaking plays?
Oh, he'll have lots of them this year. He can get lots of them this year.
And he had fewer yards given up at 345 than
Jair Alexander. Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, did you want to mention that when we were having this argument earlier?
Really?
I'm sorry.
He gave up. I did say he had one bad week, and then he basically he didn't give up. I think he gave up eight receptions week 1, and then I think I saw some stat they gave up 24 receptions the rest of the year. What is that?
See, Alex, you've been one of the elite guests. We've had you on the second time, but you got to understand, I've done 64 episodes with Dakota. I know that he doesn't bring out the real stats if they help me until after the argument's been made. So, yeah, we'll hype up Jair Alexander. He knows well and damn that Jaylen Ramsey's got better numbers than him, and he knows where I'm going by number 1. But he'll bring it up after the whole thing is settled.
50% completion percent.
Okay, there you go. I'll tell you right now. You know what? We'll get to the season preview, and Alex, I'd love to have you on another one. Season preview. I'll spoil everything. I like the Rams a lot. Matthew Stafford was nice in the lines, and that defense. If you have Aaron Donald and Jaylen Ramsey on a defense, you're going to be pretty good.
Just so you know, your boy Ramsey had one of those playmaking plays you speak so highly of.
But you know what? I stick by the fact of this. He was traded midseason.
One
19.
playmaking play.
He was traded midseason in 19. He was traded midseason 19, and then he had COVID to deal with for 2020 on our new team. He had a lot of transition. This is going to be his best year yet.
Is playmaking plays a symptom of COVID? Is it it's hard to have playmaking plays?
Oh no! See, Jaylen Ramsey's an eye test guy. You look at him and you realize he's awesome.
You got to be able to taste the playmaking. You got to be able to taste the playmaking plays. And you can't.
I could watch a Packers game and realize, oh wait, Jair Alexander's on the Packers.
Stop it! Oh, stop it!
No, I mean no disrespect. He's the top 5 guy. They just never throw to him. Jaylen Ramsey's a guy that goes and makes plays regardless if they throw him or not.
Just saying,
every other guy in my top 5.
Jair Alexander had 2 playmaking plays. Jaylen Ramsey had 1 playmaking play.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not worried about that. You know what? Playmakers make plays. And I know Dakota's still trying to wrap his mind around how many syllables playmaking plays is. But playmakers make plays. And that's why they're in my top 5.
Yeah. I just think overall, obviously tend to this might be the most diverse.
This was the toughest list. This was the toughest list by far.
I definitely. I'm going to be honest, and I don't usually admit fault. I made a couple mistakes during this list that
Gilmore not in the top 10.
Probably shouldn't have made. I'm gonna let the listeners know right now. Gilmore probably goes over Carlton Davis.
I would hope so.
And depending on who you are, I'm an Alexander guy, but Ramsey and Alexander are interchangeable.
Honestly, I'm a double birds up. If you don't like what the fuck I had, I promise you it's correct. I'm not admitting any defaults like Alex is.
I only had 1. I think Gilmore belongs on the list. That was my only mistake.
Oh my God. If you told me you were going to take Gilmore off your list, I would have told you before we hopped on this that you're out of your mind.
I don't like dreadlocks.
Hey.
Look at my head.
There you go. Hey. Scalp season!
I can see Stefan Gilmore in there.
If you look closely, Jair Alexander has a condo right out here.
That was too good. All right, well, hey, we kept up Dakota way past his bedtime. I saw Alex's scalp, which made me happy. And you know what, boys? I think this is the only ranking, unless depending on how the rest of them go, that we're bringing off the same special guest for the same position back-to-back years. And Alex, I'll see you next year with 2 kids under your belt.
Let's make it 3 in a row. There will be no children.
Hey, and
I might bring Levi, my son, in for a special guest appearance. So there will be no.
Because you know what? Levi's got Stefan Gilmore in his top 10. I promise
he definitely does.
He's too smart of a kid.
A baby probably could have made that decision.
Probably.
You're a baby.
Stefan Gilmore? Who's he?
All right. The guy with dreads who's awesome? Yeah, I like him. Go ahead.
I just didn't want to have 2 Patriot corners in my list. I just didn't feel comfortable doing it.
Episode recap, playmaking plays, dreadlocks.
Playmaking plays. Stick by the playmaking plays. But, hey, boys, this is an awesome episode. Dakota, I hope you're not too sleepy tomorrow. I hope you have 3 cups of coffee. And, Alex, when Levi wakes you up in 3 hours, I hope you think about him when he yells and screams and cries for Stefan Gilmore in your top 10.
I'm just gonna hear his cries ringing back and forth in my head. Gilmore.
So, boys, I love you to death, and I'm gonna cheers to you, knowing you both have to wake up a hell of a lot earlier than I did. So, cheers, motherfuckers! It was a delight.
Beautiful.
Cheers to the next one, baby.
Boys, to next year.
And you know what? Hey, one corner we forgot, Steve Nelson. I love him on the Birds. I think we can all agree to that.
Top 10 next year. Top 10 next year.
Here, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, boys. It's been a pleasure. I love you.
Yeah, everyone.
Have a good one now.